In the optimistic, spacefaring dreams of the 1960s, shows like Lost in Space captured the public imagination, promising adventure among the stars. Yet, while some series focused on sleek futures and serious missions, Lost in Space, which premiered in 1965, offered a different kind of cosmic journey, one defined by unexpected detours, constant peril often self-inflicted, and a dynamic that unexpectedly shifted from earnest science fiction to flamboyant, often hilarious, space opera. It wasn't the show creators initially envisioned, but the version we remember became an iconic, unforgettable piece of television history, largely due to its larger-than-life characters and its unique, evolving tone that dared to be both thrilling and delightfully ridiculous. The initial premise was simple: a family sent to colonize a planet orbiting Alpha Centauri, but the addition of a saboteur and a series of unfortunate events turned a mission of hope into a saga of survival and adaptation billions of miles from home. This blend of pioneering spirit and chaotic misadventure formed the core of its appeal. The original concept for Lost in Space, envisioned by creator Irwin Allen, was closer in spirit to the Swiss Family Robinson in Space, a relatively grounded science fiction show about a family of pioneers using their scientific knowledge to survive and adapt in alien environments. The Jupiter 2, their state-of-the-art spaceship, represented humanity's reach for the stars, and the Robinson family, Professor John, Maureen, and their children Judy, Penny, and Will, along with the pilot Major Doane West, embodied the ideals of courage, intelligence, and resilience needed for such a monumental task. This initial vision, particularly in the first season filmed in black and white, had a more serious, survivalist tone, focusing on the dangers of deep space and the ingenuity required to overcome them. However, the show's narrative was quickly and dramatically altered by the presence of a character who wasn't supposed to be there for long, but who would ultimately steal the show and redefine its direction: Dr. Zachary Smith. Dr. Smith, played with exquisite, theatrical flair by Jonathan Harris, was originally intended to be a villain, a treacherous agent of an enemy government sent to sabotage the mission, who would be written out after a few episodes. But Harris, a classically trained actor with a penchant for flamboyant performance, saw an opportunity and ran with it. He transformed Smith from a cold saboteur into a cowardly, narcissistic, hyperarticulate plotter whose schemes invariably backfired, usually due to his own ineptitude or sheer bad luck. Smith was vain, greedy, self-pitying, and utterly lacking in courage, yet somehow he remained indispensable to the plot, often inadvertently triggering the very dangers the family had to overcome. Harris's performance was a revelation. He chewed the scenery with gleeful abandon, delivering his lines with a unique cadence and adding flourishes that were entirely his own. His the pain, and his constant feigned ailments became legendary. The transformation of Dr. Smith wasn't the only major character evolution, but it was the catalyst for the show's most famous dynamic: his relationship with the robot. The robot, originally just a functional piece of equipment, quickly became Dr. Smith's primary foil, caretaker, and often the voice of reason, or at least logical consequence. Their interactions, filled with Smith's dramatic pronouncements and the robot's calm, often cutting, factual responses, "Danger, Will Robinson," became the show's most iconic catchphrase. Though often directed at Smith, provided the comedic backbone that would eventually dominate the series. The robot, voiced originally by Allen's assistant Dick Tufeld and physically operated by Bob May, possessed a surprisingly distinct personality despite its mechanical nature, often displaying exasperation with Smith or protective loyalty towards young Will Robinson. The bickering, the codependency, the reluctant affection between Smith and the robot became the undeniable highlight for many viewers. The central, chaotic duo proved so popular that the show's focus gradually shifted dramatically away from the entire Robinson family's survival efforts to the antics of Smith and the robot, often centered around Smith's latest failed scheme or his attempts to get them home alone. This shift was most pronounced in seasons 2 and 3, which were filmed in color and embraced a more campy, adventure of the week format. Plots became more outlandish, aliens more colorful and less threatening, often more comical or bizarre, and the overall tone became lighter and more comedic, sometimes at the expense of scientific accuracy or dramatic tension. The serious family drama elements were often sidelined in favor of Dr. Smith being chased by a giant cyclops or dealing with intergalactic space criminals who spoke in rhyme. This tonal shift was a point of contention among fans and critics, with some lamenting the loss of the show's more serious science fiction roots. However, for many viewers, particularly younger ones, the sheer inventiveness and often goofy fun of the later seasons were what made the show memorable. The vibrant colors, the strange new worlds each week, and the undeniable entertainment provided by Jonathan Harris's performance as Dr. Smith captivated audiences. The show became a wild, unpredictable space adventure where anything could happen, driven by the hilarious dynamic between a cowardly human and his long-suffering robotic companion. It's a fascinating example of how a show can fundamentally change its identity based on the popularity of its characters and still find a massive, enduring audience. Thinking about how a single character and a robot could completely reshape a show's identity is a testament to the power of performance and audience connection. If you find yourself drawn to classic series with iconic duos and unexpected tonal shifts, you're in for a treat exploring the vast landscape of vintage television. Don't miss out on future analyses of how characters and creative decisions shape these legendary shows. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to join our journey through TV history. Despite the increased focus on Dr. Smith, the rest of the cast remained crucial to the show's foundation, even if their roles sometimes became less central. Guy Williams as Professor John Robinson embodied the stoic, capable patriarch, constantly trying to keep his family safe and focused on rescue despite the obstacles Dr. Smith included. June Lockhart as Maureen Robinson was the nurturing matriarch and a scientist in her own right, providing calm and support. Mark Goddard as Major Doane West was the action hero and often the straight man, frequently exasperated by Smith's antics and protective of the family. The Robinson children, Angela Cartwright as Penny, Marta Crisson as Judy, and especially Billy Mumy as Will, provided the emotional core. Will's bond with the robot and his naive trust in Dr. Smith despite ample evidence to the contrary was a key recurring element, particularly as the show became more focused on Smith. Even when the plots were outlandish, the portrayal of the family unit facing adversity together, trying to maintain some semblance of normal life billions of miles from home, provided an underlying warmth. The visual design of Lost in Space, while sometimes constrained by 60s television budgets, contributed significantly to its identity. The Jupiter to spaceship, with its distinctive saucer shape and futuristic for the time interior, was a memorable piece of sci-fi design. The alien landscapes, often filmed in California deserts or soundstages, were rendered in vibrant, sometimes surreal colors, populated by imaginative creatures and strange geological formations. The robot's design, while perhaps clunky compared to modern robots, was iconic and expressive. These visual elements, combined with the show's unique sound design, the robot's voice, the ship's noises, helped create a distinct, recognizable universe that felt both vast and strangely intimate, given the focus on the small group of castaways. The aliens they encountered varied wildly, from humanoid to abstract, adding to the unpredictable nature of their adventures across the cosmos. Lost in Space's legacy is complex. It's often compared, sometimes unfavorably, by sci-fi purists to its contemporary, Star Trek, which took a more intellectual and allegorical approach to science fiction. Lost in Space, particularly in its later seasons, leaned heavily into adventure, comedy, and spectacle. However, its impact is undeniable. It was a massive hit, introduced iconic characters and catchphrases into pop culture, and remains fondly remembered by generations who grew up watching its reruns. Jonathan Harris's Dr. Smith is a legendary television character, a masterclass in comedic villainy or anti-villainy, and the robot is one of the most recognizable robots in fiction. The show tapped into the wonder of space exploration while delivering a unique blend of family drama, action, and campy fun that resonated with a broad audience. It proved that science fiction could be accessible, entertaining, and wildly unpredictable. Looking back at the journey of the Jupiter 2 and the evolution of the show itself, it's clear that Lost in Space was a series that wasn't afraid to take risks, even if those risks dramatically changed its identity. It found its voice and its audience by embracing the unexpected, allowing its characters to lead the way, and delivering a brand of space adventure that was uniquely its own. It's a reminder that sometimes getting lost is the best way to find something truly special and enduring. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Lost in Space and exploring the layers beneath its campy exterior, remember there's a universe of classic television waiting to be discovered and appreciated. We love breaking down what made these shows tick. Don't get lost. Make sure you've subscribed to join us for more explorations of iconic series and the characters that made them unforgettable. Now, over to you. What are your fondest memories of Lost in Space? Who was your favorite character, be honest? Was it Smith or the robot? What do you think of the show's famous tonal shift? Share your thoughts, favorite moments, and opinions in the comments below. Let's discuss why this adventurous, unpredictable show still holds a place in our hearts.